Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock.
My name is Danny.
And we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight. Got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet. Cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Howdy, folks. Brock's not with us tonight, just Danny. You'll get used to it. Now, Brock has gone on a road trip, a 5,000-mile road trip across the Northwest with his wife and two kids and a teardrop trailer. If you've had a chance to listen to our last episode or maybe seen it on YouTube, especially, you get some nice pictures of that trailer. I'm very impressed. One of the stay-at-home dads in our network actually built it, and it's incredible. But I'm kind of glad, honestly, that Brock's not here tonight, because we were doing a lot with our Geeking Out series, where we're just kind of finding other things that dads are about other than just their kids. The guys in the network, if we can, other dads just have hobbies or things that they're really enthusiastic about, things they really want to talk about, things that they just get really excited. And whether it's a side hustle or a hobby or something like that, for our Geeking Out series, we're kind of looking for things that will make us smile and laugh and hopefully make you smile and laugh. But Brock's not here tonight, and that's okay, because tonight we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. Now, Brock's not a huge D&D fan. Actually, I don't know if he's ever even played. I won't hold that against him. He didn't hold my lack of love for beer against me, so that's fine. I think he'd probably have a good time talking with us, but he'd be really confused, worse than I was when we talked about beer, which I don't drink beer. Sorry, I just never got used to the taste. So I was kind of like, yeah, that sounds great. It's a what now? A pumpkin what? So anyway, for D&D night, I brought in a couple of our friends from the network, and I picked a couple of guys that actually play together already in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. And we're going to have them on in a minute, basically to talk about all the things they love about geeking out on D&D. And I love D&D. Let me tell you, I have been playing since D&D came out in 1978. My brain doesn't work as well. I don't remember the dates. And it was amazing. It was exactly what I wanted. Even at the time when it was nothing like it is now, when things were so very different than they are now, it was still an amazing opportunity to get together with my friends. My brothers basically were my friends at that time. They're the only people that played with me. And eventually got together at school with some other classmates. And we're able to take all of those thoughts and stories that we had in our mind about who our characters were or what the world was like, put them down on pen and paper, and then get together with other people and start playing off what their characters did or what the world did around them. And that's kind of what D&D is to me. I call it collaborative storytelling. It's, what does your character do in this situation? And you get to decide what your character does or attempts to do. And then the dice get to decide if you actually succeed or fail. 5th edition has made it very, very accessible for a lot of people. So I hope that after the show, if you haven't played before, you take an opportunity to sit down and play some D&D. If you need some resources on that, you can always ask in the network page. And of course, just Google. D&D is a lot bigger than it was. It's actually mainstream now, whereas it used to be just in our dark basements where our mom tried to throw away our books, but we hid them because there were demons in it. Yeah, that happened to me. I'm from the South. These things happen. Anyway, looking forward to the show tonight, and I hope you enjoy it too. So we've got tonight I will say good friends. I know Micah Adams is definitely someone I would consider a good friend. Josh Thompson is someone that I've just met recently, but I think we met in the past. And if not, I'm sure we'll meet at the next Home Dad Con, right, Josh?
Yep, I'm going.
All right. So gaming, D&D specifically, we're going to try to keep this as close to just talking about D&D as possible. But I think we all know that, at least those of us here know, that tabletop role-playing games are huge. There's all sorts of genres, all sorts of games you can play in. There are modern games, there are sci-fi games, there are medieval games that are in space. There's all sorts of things. But sticking with just D&D, because since 5th edition has come out, Dungeons and Dragons has become much more mainstream. And it's just like the thing to do for a lot of people. And it seems like a lot of people who wanted to play it years and years ago, when only us geeks were doing it, are coming out of the woodwork at this point to try it with us. And I'm very happy, personally. I think 5th edition has done Dungeons and Dragons and the Dungeons and Dragons community a huge service. They just really kind of opened up the floodgates for people to start playing. So first and foremost, let's start with you, Micah. How many kids do you have? How old are they? And how long have you been a stay-at-home dad?
All right, I have two kids, 10 and 7. I've been a stay-at-home dad about 10 years now. Yeah.
Right.
In April was 10 years, I believe.
Cool. And Josh, how about you?
I have two kids, a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I've been a stay-at-home dad for 3 years.
Nice. All right. So a little bit of near veteran, a little bit of near newbie, but both kind of right in the middle, if you think about it. Good ages for your kids. Now, the second question, probably more important, is, are you going to teach your kids to play D&D?
Already have.
Yeah.
Boom. There it is.
We've had our kids play together with us, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah, we ran a big game with that, with our kids and his spouse and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the gist of what I want to talk about tonight, is because D&D can be one of those things that you're just passing on to the generations. It can be a tradition almost. Well, we'd always get together at Dad's house and play the Thanksgiving D&D game or whatever it is you end up doing. Also, something that we can do a lot of times that we do instead of board games, if we have the time to commit to it, and something that we can just do generation to generation to generation. But how old were you when you started playing? Micah?
Oh, me? In my 30s.
Okay.
I forget how old I am right now. So
an adult. Let's just say an adult. I was an adult. Josh, what about you?
Well, growing up, my brothers and I were always into games like that. So we would create our own. My brother was 7 years older than me, so he had an old second edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons book.
Nice.
And we would just from there create all of our own stories and our own item lists, because it didn't have all the item lists in it and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then he bought one of the Star Wars ones, like right after Phantom Menace came out. They came with a new Star Wars one. And so throughout my childhood, I'd been playing it, but never seriously, and gotten into it to the level that I am now.
All right.
And then just recently, Micah got me involved in it again.
Cool. I'll say I started playing when it came out, and I played all through the original D&D, and I still have my AD&D books. My mom threw away all of my original books and dice because demons, basically. If you guys remember back in those days, D&D was definitely something. If you remember, do you remember the movie? I think it was Mazes and Monsters with Tom Hanks, where the kids like lose their mind and Tom Hanks goes in the sewer and starts stabbing people. Just for whatever. And it was like, well, this is what D&D does to you. I'm like, this isn't what D&D does to anybody. I've never met. What are you talking about? Right. But it was one of those things. It was just part of the culture we were in. It's part of the lifestyle that it was at that point. I still loved it. And I did play in the first rendition of Star Wars. I played more in the D20 version that came out a little bit later. D20 Modern, Gamma World, on and on and on and on. And there's so many. I think I've tried just about everything anybody had offered me, because I really enjoy the storytelling of it, so that's where I'm coming at from my game experience. There's a lot of dice involved, of course, and we're not going to talk about dice because that's an addictive subject. We'll just never stop. But more for me, like I said, I enjoy this storytelling. I enjoy creating characters, whether it's running a game or it's just individual characters. Now, Micah, you run a game, right?
More than one. Yeah.
More than one. All right. Brag, please bring it on. But, and tell me what your process or what your thought is when you're making your characters or making the world for your players to play in.
When I'm DMing, it's definitely a little bit different than when I'm a player. My thought process, especially as a DM, is I first come up with a concept of something unique about the world. And then that's what I build from. So I need something unique about this world, something going on. And once I have that idea, I fill in the gaps as we go. I also do a lot of improv on my DMing, because the first time I tried running a campaign, I wrote it all out. I had like full storyline, everything. They never touched any of it, including him.
Yep.
Sorry.
So from there, I've learned to just make bullet points. Boom, boom, boom. And then another thing I started doing the last time I was running a game is I don't actually know the full story, because I actually roll my dice as I'm prepping to decide it. So there was an aboleth that was after something they had, And I'm like, okay, so let's see if the aboleth notices it. And I rolled to see if he noticed it. They may have gotten away. They may not have. So.
Yep. Yeah, that bit of randomness, I think, is the dice are really good about that, and that's why I enjoy that part of it more. I do role playing ROLE, but then I also do role playing ROLL, like you said, add the dice into it. So, Josh, do you run any games now, or are you just playing?
I do not. I'm a player in. I don't know how many games right now. At least 4, maybe 5, because we're starting up a Starfinder one too. So.
Oh yeah, and the Futurama one I came up with today.
I'm just going to throw it out there. If you don't really know how many games you're actually in, you may have a problem.
I do, yeah. I was telling my wife, I'm like, I have another game possibly on Saturday. She's like, oh, another one? Yeah.
Well, I have to say also, if you don't know how many games you're in, you also can be my friend, because I love it. Just too many games, there's no such thing. All right. Now you mentioned your wife, and I think that's something that I love to talk about, because my wife plays. She's been playing since college or so. We met through kind of a gaming group. We played in a Star Wars game together for a while. We argued about the really big subjects of life. I mean, all the big, don't talk about politics or religion. We were all over that in the parking lot after the Star Wars game was over. But she's played in just about every game that I've played in since. If I run it, she's in it. She's really just a player and doesn't really want to be in front of everything. But she's helped a lot with like world building and things like that. So Josh, I'm guessing from what you said that your wife doesn't play.
She does when the opportunity presents it. She's just, when she works a lot. She's a school teacher, and she's also an auditorium manager at the theater at the school. So when she's not teaching, she's then directing shows, hanging lights, doing all kinds of stuff like that. So her job could be 60, 70 hours a week. So she doesn't really get a lot of time to play.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So, but she has sat in a couple of times in different games. She's a big Rogue fan.
All right. So. All right. And Micah, what about you?
My wife, she decided to have a seizure to get out of playing. So she does not play.
She does not play. Okay.
She was playing. She grudgingly decided to play. And she played one game, then we were going to play the next one. And my wife does have a seizure disorder, and she ended up having a seizure. But honest, so that's the joke that she made, was that, but she doesn't play. But she does enable. She's a really good enabler, because she'll watch all of our kids. So Josh's kids and my kids, and we had another family for a while. She'll watch the kids. She's like, I'm fine with that. You guys can play. So she's supportive. She's just not interested.
Yeah. Well, that's good, though. That's a huge help. I mean, supporting each other when we want to try out our hobbies or whatever. And I kind of consider, for me, D&D a lot of times is part of my self-care. It's just part of that. It's not really an escape for me. It's more of storytelling. Like, okay, so what would this character do in this situation and what it was? So it gives me an opportunity to get more creative and to think more with that side of my brain and build on my imagination, which of course helps me deal with my kids who have their huge imaginations. So now I know I have my favorite game, favorite character, favorite encounter, all the things, and I could talk all about that all by myself, but I won't, because I'd like to hear from you guys, because again, just to see kind of what you've done and what you've gotten into. What was your favorite character you've ever played or ever created, or your favorite encounter, if you want to talk about it as a DM? Micah, why don't you go first?
I have to mention my favorite character I've played as a player. Technically the game hasn't ended. Eventually we'll get to the end of that one. Another friend was running it. Tibber, the goblin paladin of the Velvety Lord Harvey, who is a 6 foot 3.5 inch tall invisible talking white rabbit. If you're a Jimmy Stewart fan, you might know who this is based off of. He is the essence of chaotic good. He acts a lot more like a rogue than any paladin you'll ever have met. He's out there picking locks, stealing things. That he stole some plants from a thing that turned out to be like this Viagra thing, and he started selling it in the bar, and he's got no problem doing that, but he's still very good. He found some safety glasses in this lab that we busted, and he survived this fireball blast. So now he won't take the safety glasses off because they give him his +2 to safety.
Nice.
And he's been a lot of fun. So yeah, as far as characters goes, that's my favorite. And I have a favorite encounter, but I'll let Josh go first before I say it.
Josh, what was your favorite character?
Are
there just too many? Because that's my problem.
There's a lot.
He tends to play the same one.
Well, hey, I'm very much the fighter or the frontline guy, strong stoic type. But in the Starfinder game that he is running, I'm doing a Yosoki mechanic, which is like a little rat mechanic. And so I'm excited to have this little fast talking rat that is going to be a character that I'm going to create. So it's something I've never gotten to do before. And so I'm hoping that I can do well with that.
Cool. Now, I do have to clarify for anybody listening, Starfinder is an amazing game. But an Yosoki is like a rat folk, like Josh said, but they're full size. They're like 3-4 feet tall, I think. So we're not thinking about rats running through the ship with like a wrench dragging behind them. It's actually a race that run around in the Starfinder game. So Yosoki are amazing. They're a lot of fun too. I hope you enjoy that one. So I will say for me, I have, like Josh, I would have to think a long time before I could decide which character was my favorite. I had a long time frame of playing just clerics and paladins. They are kind of my favorite. I really, really like playing just the more religious or faith-filled characters than I did for a long time. I enjoyed being either the person that's going to stand in front of like the line between good people and bad things, which was generally my paladin would die. I mean, I lived that way. And my cleric, who was always a buff, okay, so how can I make everybody in the party their most efficient? But at one point, someone challenged me to do something different. And this is what I also love about D&D is I've played some characters that were just so far out of my comfort zone. I was very, very lawful personally most of my life. And I played a bard one day and somebody said, here, play this bard. Now this was third edition or 3.5. I can't remember which. Doesn't matter now. They're all gone. But he was basically a very chaotic person. Now he was chaotic neutral, which as we're talking about for our alignments, basically your alignment describes who you are as a person or how you respond to things in the world. If you're going to break a law, if you're going to follow a law kind of thing at the most
as a general,
simplicity. And for chaotic neutral, my understanding of it at the time and in 3.5, it was kind of, you do whatever you want to do. What do you feel like doing right now? We'll go do that. You don't do really evil things, but you don't do truly good things. But I will say when I tried that, when I played that, it really took me out of my comfort zone. And I stopped playing the paladin and the cleric and moved into a lot of other things, went into spellcasters and rogues and rangers and all sorts of other things, and really got my feet wet across the board. And one of the things I think that I really enjoyed about all that is because it really shows you the different ways a story can be told. And that for me is what D&D is. Like I said, it's collaborative storytelling. We're all getting together to say what it is. So, but moving beyond characters, Micah, encounters, give it to me.
Josh was a part of this one. This was a campaign I was running for a while, and they found themselves shipwrecked on an island, and there was inhabitants on the island, some tortured looking creatures, and some really good people. They went into the village and everything with the really good people. People are disappearing. So they're trying to solve that mystery. What's really cool is there's this magic bread because they're there at the Lamopa festival, I think it was called. And they got this bread and it gives you a buff for the day, like the blessing spell for the day if you eat this bread and everything. As they progress through it, they find out that, of course, the priests, they're kind of responsible possibly for a few things. And they ended up finding out where this bread came from. And they got sucked into a shadow fae realm of a sort that looked like a circus. And they got to fight a flying elephant and some monkeys that were throwing poop at them. And then this little vehicle, this thing came driving, no horses pulling it, right into the middle. And this little tiny thing, and out from inside of it popped clowns. 3 clowns popped out. And then the next round, 3 more clowns pop out. And the next round, 3 more clowns pop out. And all they do is throw pies at you and seltzer water. That do like 1 point of damage and thing. And they actually only had 1 hit point because I like to run them as minions. And the way to end this encounter is they don't stop popping out until you destroy the car or drive off with it. I was going to let them try to figure that out. They finally got the hang of that, but at one point there's like 15 of these clowns out and about. And then I brought in my homebrewed dark jester, who TPK'd the whole party on accident with a shadowed version fireball. But luckily it turned out to be a dream sequence. Who knew? Who knew? And they found out the source of the bread is that this jester would eat the joyfulness out of people. And they would basically sacrifice the joyfulness, and that they got turned into the tortured souls. And he got this, and anything left over came out of him, and he would give them that. And they were basically an essence of pure goodness. Poop. They ate
Sure.
poop.
Good.
So
poop.
basically, I made them eat shit and die.
Good capital good. Yeah, nice. Now I'll say you almost lost me at clowns. I hate clowns, man. I don't know if I could have stayed for that one. I'd be like, okay, no, I'm out. But that's a good one.
They weren't creepy looking clowns. I'll give them that. I didn't make them creepy clowns, but still, it was just funny. The clown car, I loved it. It was this idea I randomly came up with.
I do want to say, you mentioned about the Dark Jester and you said TPK, and for those of us who don't really play D&D, it's total party kill, which means something comes along and wipes out everybody in the party. They're all dead. And that has different ramifications depending on the party. There are ways to get around it. There's ways to get out of it. Fortunately, in this case, it was a dream. So
yep.
And good.
Yes, it was luckily very much a dream, and they got knocked out of it just in time. So
cool.
I will have to say that character that I played in there, his name, what was his name? He was a swashbuckler rogue.
Yeah.
And I kind of made him after a Flynn Rider from Tangled.
Mm-hmm.
Just that, very debonair, but
suave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But still a rogue at heart. So that was another favorite character of mine.
All right. So let me ask you this, and what is it you like or love about D&D? What is it that keeps you coming back, that makes you play in so many games you can't remember how many you're in?
I can sum that up quickly, but do you want to go first, Josh?
Sure. When I was 16, I was in my first play, and I was in a play called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. And then since then, I had been in, I think I've been in or worked on over 20 different shows or musicals. And so D&D is another outlet for me to create something like a story and portray a different character.
Nice. Yeah. And you, Micah?
For me, it's really simple. That guy. And not just him. Anybody. I love the socialization. I love getting to interact with people in a really fun environment. And I love the fact that, unlike playing a video game or something like that, where it's just you do this. And if you're playing with other people, it's always the same thing over and over. I can think outside the box. I can be crazy and goofy and everything and spend time with my friends. I wouldn't play D&D by myself.
Yeah.
It's not very much fun. Trust me. There are books actually, apparently, that you can do that. Like a name your own adventure version of it. But I enjoy just the interacting with everybody. That's why I equally like DMing, and I equally like being a player, because I just love interacting with people and seeing what happens.
Yeah. And like you said earlier about having your adventures set out, your campaign set out. This is exactly where we're going. This is exactly what's going to happen. These are the railroad tracks the party's going to follow. And that social interaction part of it, they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to do what you want them to do. They're going to go over there. What's over there? And they are going to pick up, right. They're going to pick up the most, there's a guy selling carrots. Well, what's he doing? How much are his carrots? I want to buy some carrots. What's his name? And you're
what color carrots?
His name is Bob the Carrot Man.
But what's Bob the Carrot Man's uncle's name?
That's right. And then it'll go from there. And if you, as you know, as a DM, if you give one of the characters in your world a name, then they become a person to the players, and they become someone they want to either take care of, or they want to yell their name when they kill them, or whatever, depending on what it is, whether it's your big bad evil guy or it's Bob the Carrot Seller. As a DM, I think having a long list of names just sitting there ready for the next time they go, well, what's his name? And like you said, what's his uncle's name? It doesn't matter. So
one time I described a bell going off because I just wanted to be spooky. They were fighting in a cemetery, right? There's a distant bell going off. They got fixated on that bell, and they had to go find that bell because I described earlier that there was no bell tower or anything.
For 3 hours.
3 hours of looking for a bell that didn't even exist before you guys started.
I had to
didn't even exist before you guys started.
I had to like completely rebuild everything around this bell, and then they all quit. No, they're like, I don't care about the bell anymore.
Right, we're done with that. Let's go back to the cemetery. So the thing that you talk about, I think for me too, the social part of it is a big part of it, and I would like to say we're at the end of a pandemic. I'm thinking we're still in the middle. We'll see. But so we've been in quarantine and been, staying at home for a year or more. And during that time, most of us kept playing. And this is a very social game, but we wouldn't spend time at the table or around the tabletop anymore. So I want to talk a little bit about the other alternatives, because if people are looking to get into D&D now, I want everybody to understand there are ways to play without having actually to go over to some geek's house and let him tell you all about his character, which I'll do that if you guys want to come over. So, but Mike, I think you're probably as familiar with. I think it's you don't play Roll20, right? You play on the other platform.
I've done Roll20, but no, I use a program called Fantasy Grounds, which I like a little bit better. They actually have a new version, Fantasy Grounds Unity now, that is way better even now, because they've added in like the fog of war and everything like Roll20 has, and line of sights and everything. But you can like code all the different effects for racial and spell effects and things like that. But I do like Roll20 as an option. As a player, just it's harder on the DM.
So with Fantasy Grounds and Roll20, what we're looking at is basically a virtual tabletop.
Yep.
So that everybody can see it. The person running the game, the DM or GM, has the ability to let you see whatever they want you to see, or keep you from seeing things. Like an invisible monster doesn't show up on your screen. Why didn't it show up? Well, it was invisible. So get a little bit more, I don't want to say video gamey, but a little bit more video role-playing game.
Yep. And you can roll the dice right there. So you don't have to worry about people cheating or things like that, like because everyone can see the dice. And what I do like is it has a dice tower as an option. So as a DM, it's hard. I've done this a little bit in real life, but it's easier on this. I can ask you to roll in the dice tower. You don't know the result, which can be nice. So if you're trying to bluff somebody and you see you rolled a 1, you already assume you didn't get it, or you see you rolled really high and you're thinking you got it, or what did I not see in the room? I rolled a 1 on my perception, but there has to be something here. So
yeah,
it avoids
really
that.
Low. I think I would have seen something if I'd rolled higher. No, you wouldn't.
No.
There's nothing there. I'm going to still look for 3 hours. Where's that bell again? Yeah. I've literally had to tell players, look, I don't care what you do in this room. There's nothing here. We have to go. Okay. You just get out of the room or I'll set it all on fire. Seriously. It was a bad roll, but that doesn't mean there was actually something there. So, but anyway, so Roll20 and then Fantasy Grounds are excellent ways too for people to join a game. There are actually DMs who you can pay them a little bit and they will run a game for you or for your friends, which I think is awesome for people who are doing that.
I've played with one of them before. They had a free one going. It was fun, but it's not something I would pay for, I will say, because it's really hard not to be able to find somebody. So
if you're running a game, finding players is always easy.
Yes,
that's the easy part. Finding somebody to run sometimes is the more difficult part.
And I do want to say one thing, if I may, because I'll say it either way. Don't be afraid to run.
I can edit this whole thing, man.
Right? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to run a game, even if you don't know all the rules. We mentioned Starfinder. I've never actually played Starfinder, but I'm going to DM Starfinder right now, and I'm learning it along with people. And you can learn as you go. And the best part is, if you make a mistake, unless you're playing with real jerks, they don't really care. They're good with it. They understand. We're all learning. We're all figuring this out. So just because you've never played, that's okay. Not everybody has to be what's his name, Matt Mercer, or something like that. Critical Role. I'm not into that.
We don't talk about that guy.
That's fine. I don't really watch it, but
he's not a real Mercer. Just gonna throw it out there.
Oh. There you go. But either way,
that guy.
No, you could be a Danny instead.
He's great. He is actually a real Mercer, but it's his family name was changed when they came to America or something. And when he had to join SAG, he looked for his old family name of Mercer. But it's really funny because I walk in, my wife loves that show. She's watching it. Well, she's at work right now. As soon as she gets back from work, she'll be watching it. And I walk in and he's doing his thing. And I'm like, yeah. whatever, Matt and
I
Mercer.
I can't actually watch those because I can't watch people play D&D because I want to play.
Yep. Yep. A lot better to play than it is to watch, but it is open for everybody. There are a lot of opportunities. I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. If you're interested, if you are going to Home Dad Con, you're looking to play a game, you may want to make your voice heard. There's at least one going that I know of, and just have people, let people know, hey, I'd like to play another D&D game. Okay, we'll see what we can do, because there are enough people that run them, I think, that we could get another game going. But outside of the network, anybody that's listening who is looking to maybe get into a D&D game, I would just Google it, look local. We have, I didn't even know this, especially in rural Georgia, but the county just to the east of us, their library has 4 weekly games. I mean, they run 4 games a week.
That's where I played with that one
DM. It's crazy.
We actually played Call of Cthulhu there. And then I played with him later for D&D. It was a library. Reddit has a Reddit LFG. Is for finding groups for Dungeons and Dragons, and there's Discords also.
That
are really
plenty
good.
of places. So if you want to play, join us.
Look for me. Say, hey, Micah, you got anything coming up? And I'll be like, probably.
Yeah, more than likely.
So maybe we can get Josh to run something.
Yeah, someday. That is the good thing, is going from player to DM is really, it's a big change, but it's so much fun. It really is just, it's so much easier than you think. You can make it hard, but it's so much easier than you think. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you being here tonight. Unfortunately, we are up against the wire for time tonight. It's just one of those things. We've got other things going on. Don't tell anybody. So I do want to tell you guys, thank you for being here. I appreciate you talking, and I appreciate you coming on the show. And hopefully we'll see you both, well, if nothing else, soon at Home Dad Con.
A roll initiative.
Roll initiative.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Good night.
Night.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.